what was your main takeaway when you went back and watched the film from that game yesterday?
Defensively, we got to do a better job tackling. Need to shore up our run fits and just have more discipline doing our job. Uh, Talking about me specifically, kind of 3/4 doing your job, a quarter trying to do someone else's job, trying to make a play, and that trickles down. I think everybody just needs to focus on doing their job.
I'm surprised you say that. Did you think you're basically you're saying you thought you were trying to do too much, especially early in the game there?
I think mindset wise, yeah, I think my focus just wasn't 100% on doing my job, and if it was, I think we would have had a better result.
Why wasn't you're a veteran, you know what the deal is. Why wasn't your head wrapped around the immediate task at hand and maybe trying to go outside what you wanted to do?
A multitude of things, as the game gets going, you want to make a play. It's early in the season. You want to, get some momentum going. Um, but yeah, that's the foundation of, fundamental defense, 100% doing your job.
Um, as a team captain, 2 years running now, 0-2, you have a very young team. How do you kind of make sure that that same old doesn't filter into your group, to the whole team?
Yeah. You have a 1-0 mentality, and you focus on what you can control, and that's practice. So going into this week, like I said, we'll have an emphasis on run fits, an emphasis on tackling, and an emphasis on disciplined doing our job.
The Giants have been in this spot a lot, and it used to be Saquon and Xavier McKinney and those kind of Sterling Shepard who were here for a long time, and you have a different locker room now. Do you? What you're saying here to begin is you're putting it on you, which it sounds like a guy who's trying to take control of his locker room and be a captain. Is it important that some of these new guys, is this a teetering point for some of the new look Giants here to make sure like, hey, we're going to show that we're the accountable ones?
Yeah, I think that's the mindset and the attitude of guys in the building. We're pointing the thumb, not the finger. Everyone has their own individual responsibility. It's 11 guys on the field at a time. So, especially on defense, our focus is everyone doing their job to the best of their ability. And, if we do that, we'll like the result.
And my experience, obviously not with this team, and you were with the Colts, so could not be your experience, is that when a team loses a game where it's a management issue or a roster issue or a coaching issue like you did by not having a kicker available yesterday, is players get frustrated with the coach. How do you guys avoid that? And is that something that you have to be on the lookout for? Maybe you've seen it other places.
Yeah, I'd say that's not really in our mindset, especially looking at this game. I know me specifically. I didn't tackle very well, didn't do my job 100% to my ability. So that's really where my focus is. And I know guys have their own individual focus on what they can do better.
It's funny. The word accountability, I would imagine, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And you're obviously, taking accountability for your game. How do you see that manifest itself during the week? I mean, does it start today? Does it start on Wednesday? What does that mean to you as a captain on this team, and what you need to see from everybody in the locker room?
Yeah. It really started last night on the bus watching the film. I'm watching the film with guys like Kayvon and Dex. I think it's really just being honest, having those honest conversations, being self-aware, realizing, when you made a good play and when you didn't make a good play, when you did your job and when you didn't. And then overall, it's just having the dedication throughout the week, whether that's my process tomorrow, on a Wednesday, a Friday, a Saturday mock game, just making sure my dedication and focus is on making the corrections week to week.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, just in terms of, Malik talking yesterday at his locker, mentioned the veterans on this team, name dropped some guys, but collectively, and said, these guys trust me as a young player, and I didn't come through for them late. Do you take an opportunity? I know it's another side of the ball, but the leadership of this team for you guys in the locker room, when you see or hear a young guy say that, how do you react to that?
I love that. Obviously, he knows and everybody in the building knows he was a star that game. He played extremely well. And I think that moment is going to be big for him in his career. He'll remember that. He'll make the corrections throughout the week. And his focus and energy will be on making that play. And I think he'll have a lot of successful endings to games because of that play he missed.
This is elementary. I wish I would have asked it to you before the season started, but how different is this defensive scheme from what you were used to under Wink?
I'd say pretty different. I mean, obviously with Wink style, we blitzed a lot. We ran a bear front, sometimes had a 5-man front. This is a little bit more different. We're playing quarters. Some of our fits are different, but the same fundamentals of football always show up, playing fast and physical and doing your job.
It's easy to say this because you've lost 2 games, but in talking to the defensive players and leaders, there does seem to be some frustration perhaps with roles or with growing pains and that kind of thing. Can you fix that during a season if I'm accurate there?
100%. And I think if you have the right perspective and mindset of making the corrections week to week, you'll get better and you'll like where you're at later on in the season. So that's where our focus is. We made some corrections from week 1 to week 2. We like the progress, still not where we need to be. So we'll make the corrections from week 2 to 3 and, we'll get a better result.